I'd like to call this meeting of the Marion County Board of Education to order. If we could please stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First this evening, I would like to make a motion that the board adopt the following resolution. To all whom these presents shall come, whereas an excellent public school system is vital to the quality of life of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and fundamental to preserving a strong democratic society both now and in the future. And whereas, upon passage of Senate Bill 1, now called Unbridled Learning, the members of the Kentucky Legislature pledged to ensure that Kentucky students would have the tools they need to compete in a global society. And whereas the mandates of unbridled learning continue to increase, putting additional stress and responsibilities on teachers and administrators working to ensure that students continue on their path to becoming college and career ready. And whereas the Kentucky Legislature has broken their pledge to Kentucky students, failing to fund the mandates of unbridled learning, thereby putting at risk its goals and jeopardizing the future of our students. And whereas the failure of the legislature has caused the Marion County School District and districts across the Commonwealth to make significant cuts to their budgets and to personnel, compelling school boards to increase property taxes in order that districts might continue to operate and serve the students who are the future of the Commonwealth. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Marion County Board of Education, do challenge the members of the Kentucky State House of Representatives and the Kentucky State Senate to take action, putting the students of the Commonwealth of Kentucky first, reinvesting in their future, and fully funding the mandates of unbridled learning to ensure that Kentucky's public education system can offer students the path to college and career readiness.
I second the motion.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. Next we'll have the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thank you so much for passing that resolution. What a great way to say to, the audience today that you support the work for unbridled learning, but also that it's got to go beyond what this Board of Education does. And I think we talked about that when we talked about our taxes back in July. Welcome everyone to our board meeting, and this is a leadership opportunity for all of us. I won't steal any of Ms. Newcomb's thunder. She's going to give us a overview of the district-wide presentation. Just a quick update. We are talking about our state scores today, but we're also going to be, in a couple weeks, we'll also be talking about our program review results, which will be a part of our state accountability. If you were here a little bit earlier today, you saw some pictures of the staff work day that we had on October the 14th. We had all of our staff members in staff development, and a very positive, uplifting day. We have another day planned for November the 5th with Kagan Strategies. Again, all of our staff members across the district will be working to grow and improve. We've completed a learning walk and a facilities walk in all of our 7 schools, and we have 2 additional walks planned for the next couple of weeks, and will be completed before the end of the semester. Next Tuesday, we do have a regional KSBA meeting, which is an opportunity for board members to grow, professional growth opportunity. And I would like to report with our new professional growth and effectiveness system that Marion County is making progress. This year is a pilot year. However, all of our principals have a professional growth plan based on the new effectiveness system. Ms. Newcomb and I went from building to building, took about 2 hours per building, but it's very detailed, a lot of goals about student growth and improving, including things like the TEL survey results, looking at working conditions. So we're excited about that. We also have a teacher cadre where we're actually working with the teachers who are doing the pilot. And basically what we're doing this year is we're practicing, because next year everyone will be a part of the new professional growth and the effectiveness system. The principals are right on board with us. They understand that this year is a trial run, so that next year we will be ready to go. And just to continue to focus on customer service and the importance of that. And just to update everyone on the vacant board member, we have advertised for the second time. And we're working with KDE, and we're basically working through that process.
People wanting to work with us so bad, they're just knocking the doors down.
Yeah. So, that's all I have.
Thank you. Lisa, with our financial report.
If you remember, September is when we adopted our working budget, and so actually all the budget numbers that you see will have our new working budget. Balance on hand for September started at the 8.5 million. Revenue stayed consistent between August and September. Expenditures went up. We had our first full month of 2 pay runs during the month of September. So that's why you see it goes up. We actually pay about $1.5 million, and that's why this is going down at this point.
Is that why that number is so high on expenditures?
Yes, because in the past, we've just had, it's usually about $750,000 that we pay each pay period. And so in the August, we just had one, because August the 15th was paid last year. So you only had the August 31st pay run here, whereas you had 9/15 and 9/30 during the month of September. So in general fund, it's going down, which is consistent with every time this year, because we're not getting any property taxes in, but we're still paying out the same amount of expenses on a monthly basis. So that's why you're seeing these decreases for Fund 1 and Fund 2, and then a little bit on the food service. So we're ending the balance at $8 million, down about $500,000 from the month of August. Any questions on the balance sheet? On the income statement, again, your current budget is our working budget that we will be operating on for the rest of the year. When you compare September 30th for this year compared to last year, total revenue is up about $119,000, but you can see the bulk of that is the carry forward balance. When you're looking at local, state sources, we're down. And we will continue to be down state source, definitely. Local source will go up some, but hopefully it'll be an increase over last year, as long as the other motor vehicle utility tax, we expect them to go up, and as long as they do, then we'll be up, but we will be down for the year on state sources for the rest of the year. When you look at your expenses, you can see revenues pretty much staying consistent. Like we said last time, we've shifted some salaries from Fund 1 to Fund 2, and so that's why you're seeing the decrease here, is we're trying to optimize how the federal grants and state grants are paid out. And then you've got your other expenses, employee benefits. It's kind of, there's just a reclassification between some of our insurance. Our general liability, unemployment, we actually got a refund of about $14,000 this year for what we overpaid last year. So usually we've had to pay, but we increased how much we withhold and pay in on a quarterly basis last year, so that we didn't have to worry about coming up with more money at the end of the year. And work comp is, down also, but kind of I know going through it quickly tonight, but I know we've got a lot going on our plate, so. Any questions? I mean, total expenses right now is up about $132,000. But we've also purchased the textbooks for all the elementary schools. We've purchased a lot of technology, iPads, Project Lead the Way. We did a huge initiative there with purchasing the reading initiative at Lebanon Elementary, about $10,000 in technology type purchases. So that's why that increase on property shows up there. Any questions on the income statement? So we'll just take a quick look at the food service income statement. Again, we're operating on the current working budget. That'll be the same for the rest of the year. Revenue is down here, but it has to do with the beginning balance carry forward being down because of the indirect costs we charged last year. But you can see we're staying consistent on the year-to-date balance with September. Total expenses up about $22,000. Food is what's actually having the big increase. It's about $20,000. Any questions on the income statement?
Thank you, Lisa. Next is electrical allowances.
I move that the board approve an electrical allowance of $50 for the following bus drivers who heat diesel-powered buses at their private residence.
I second the motion.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The adequacy study funding contribution.
Move that the board approve a voluntary contribution of $750.50 to the Council for Better Education for an adequacy study. This contribution is based on the most recent growth factor report, ADA, which is the average daily attendance of 3,002 students at 25 cents per student.
Second.
Mr. Foster, you want to explain that just briefly?
If you'll remember back in September, we had a superintendent summit in Frankfurt where all the superintendents came together. And we talked about a lot of things, but one of the things we talked about was that went along with your resolution just a few minutes ago about the amount of funding is not adequate to implement the unbridled learning. And what the Council for Better Education wants to do is actually do a research study on that. And that's going to cost approximately $130,000. So what they're asking is each district, if they could just contribute what they could contribute, and they ask for 25 cents per enrollment, per pupil. And that's how the $750 came about. But what they're hoping is that if everybody collectively goes together, all the school districts, KEA, KSBA, all the acronyms, all the groups out there, will come together and put the money in for this funding. They can actually move forward and say, we're back where we were in the 90s when public education wasn't funded correctly. And it turns into the haves and the have-nots. And we're putting a lot of responsibility back on local taxpayers, but the state's not doing their part. They put it all back on us to do. So, wouldn't it be great if we could get back to where we had the funding? So.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Student learning services, first one is shortened school days. Shortened school day.
I make a motion that the board approve a shortened school day and a week for Marion County Public School students, ARC recommended, effectively October 16, 2013.
I second the motion.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10 is our consent items.
I move that the board approve the following consent items, minutes of the previous meeting, use of district property, applications for the following: driver approval agreement, school-wide fundraisers, acceptance of donated items to special education departments at Marion County High, Lebanon and Calvary Elementary School. Estimated value, $2,858.42.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next is notification by the superintendent to the board of actions for certified personnel. And number 12 is for classified personnel. Anybody have any questions or comments on those? If not, we'll turn the meeting over to Tammy.
Okay, if you look in front of you, you have a black binder, and inside of the black binder, I have placed a lot of the information from the PowerPoint. Members of the audience also have a copy of the District Unbridled Learning summary. So with that being said, I'm going to move through this pretty briefly. We're going to go through it pretty quickly because each school will then present their individual school data to you. There will be opportunity to ask question and answers at each station along with discussion in here. So I'm going to just kind of review you over how do we get our score. So if you remember, our score goes from 0 to 100 and it's pulled from 5 categories: achievement, gap, growth, college and career readiness, and graduation rate. In 2011-12 school year, last year, they took all of the schools at each level and they ranked them from lowest to highest. And then they determined a percentile range. From that percentile range, then they did the cutoff scores for a proficient school, distinguished school, or a school of distinction, and the same for a district. So if you go to the next slide, and inside your binder, if you're following along, if you turn the binder, landscape it or turn it, you'll be able to refer back to these numbers since I'm going pretty quickly. But these are the benchmark levels at each school along with the district to let you know what score do we need to be proficient, what score do we need to be distinguished, and so forth. So then the next thing that you want to look at is, are the schools progressing? Is the district progressing? You get an additional label of saying that you're a progressing school or district if you meet your annual measurable objective, or what you'll hear teachers refer to as their AMO. So if you were already a proficient or a distinguished school, you only had to grow a half a point. If you were classified as a needs improvement school, you needed to grow a whole point to get that additional label of progressing. So then the next slide that we're going to look at is it shows you what are additional labels that a district could get. One is called a high performing district, which is definitely where we want to go. The next is a high progress district, where they take the top 10% of districts that grew the most. And then a focus district, which would be if you have gap groups that are in the bottom 10% of all the scores across the 174 school districts. So where did Marion County rank? Now this slide's going to kind of overwhelm you because it's pretty complicated. That's what we're talking about. That's what everyone has in their hands. So I'm going to do my best effort to try to explain this. And I think the best way to explain is to break this apart. So the next slide. Uh-oh. So the next slide is going to look at achievement. It has so much stuff on there, it doesn't want to go to the next slide. So if we just zoom in on one piece of that, okay, and break this apart, the achievement scores for each school comes from what you would consider those core classes: reading, math, science, social studies, also writing and language mechanics. So then what I've done is I've taken all of the scores from each level, and because there's so much data, just a really quick look, anything that is green, we're above the state average. Anything that is red, or that orange color, we're below state average. Now, we know in order to be a distinguished school district, we need to be more than just slightly above that state average. And I didn't note that. You can look at the numbers to see how close we're at state average, or above or below. So obviously, when you look at this really quick, reading, we're below state average at middle and high, and also in social studies, which would make sense that those two would go hand in hand. We're also below in math at the high school, and then the rest were above state average. They take all of these percentages and they do a calculation to give an achievement score. You will see, if you compare the 11-12 school year, the year before last, and this past, you can see that our scores at the elementary pretty much stayed the same. Our middle school, not a lot of difference there. And our high school did take a significant jump because their science score took a significant jump. So that helped their achievement score. Okay? So then the next piece of the puzzle, I'm going to call it a puzzle. The next piece of the puzzle is our gap population. So it's basically the same calculations, but just with a group of students. So again, the cells that are colored green were above state average. The cells that are that orangey red were below state average. Pam, you're trying to make it really challenging for me. And then again, you see our numbers for comparison. Elementary gap students, those scores stay pretty much the same. Middle school, not a lot of difference. And the high school went from a 26 to 35, so it did take more of a jump. All right, the next piece of the puzzle, so that was the second piece. And there's 5. I could quiz the audience, but I won't do that to you. The third piece of the puzzle comes from student growth, and that is only from reading and math. And so again, you have student growth at the elementary, middle, and high school level. And you can see that if you compare where we were at the year before, the elementary took a significant jump, the middle school's growth score was about the same, and the high school's was slightly above. The next piece, which would be the fourth piece, I'm trying to keep track of that. The fourth piece of the puzzle would be our college and career readiness. As I say, I don't know the numbers by heart, but I can get us going to that transition. Our college and career readiness score comes from the middle school and the high school. Middle school is strictly that Explore test. It's one shot, done. Middle school has already received their Explore results for this next accountability, so they already know 16% of their score. The high school comes from a very complicated process where you can be college ready strictly from ACT, or the career side of it where you're career academic plus a career technical piece that all goes together to determine if you are college or career ready. And you can see when we look at this number, you can see that our middle school score was about the same. Our high school is close to the same, but we did we did have a little bit of a drop there. And you can look at each category to see where we're at in comparison to the state average, which is in those parentheses. Okay? So the next slide is just the graduation rate, and this is the easiest slide to explain because you can see that we took a significant increase in graduation rate. We went from a 78.7 to a 93.2. That probably is one of the key reasons that the high school was able to move to a proficient school, okay, because they did take that big jump there. So they need to celebrate that fact. Then you're going to put them all together. So they're going to take the achievement, the gap, the growth, and the college and career readiness, and they're going to put those numbers together. And you get an overall score. So you can see that our elementary score was at a 62.4, the middle school at a 58.1, and the high school at a 60.2. Then they take and they add these up and divide by 3, they average it, and we get an over... She's trying to get She's really challenging me. And you get an overall district average. And so our average is a 60.2. I know it's the same as the high school, but if you do add these up and divide by 3, that's why it's a 60.2. It's not just what that high school score was. And because we moved above that benchmark score, we did become a proficient school district. Okay?
Do you all have a question about the graduation rate? Because I know that a lot of times you all have asked me before as high school principal about graduation rate.
Well, the question I have is, help me with the percentage. We had, was 68% that was college and or career readiness?
No, we were not.
No.
Yeah, okay, I forgot which, hang on here for a second.
We're at this year, we're at a 53.4.
53, okay.
Yes.
If we got 98% graduation rate and we got 53% in college and career readiness, that means we're putting a lot of people out on the street that are neither ready for college or career.
According to the Unbridled Learning Accountability System, that would be correct, sir.
I guess how can that be such a large disparity between the two, the 90% graduation rate and 53%? I know you're new to this position, so it has to do with previous years.
Well, I can tell you that when you visit the high school station and the area tech school station, they are going to give you specific detail about how do you get to be career ready, how do you become college ready, or how do you become classified as both. So I don't want to put off your question, but I don't want to steal their thunder either. And I promise if after you go in there and you listen, we can bring it back up and discuss that again.
Let me do a follow-up
Okay.
question that's related to that. What is on the state level the difference between the graduation rate and the college and career readiness rate?
Well,
Do you have that?
Well, graduation rate is that's the number of kids that meet the minimum requirement that
Right.
the Board of Education sets out.
Right.
And we have a report that we have to fill out for that. Now, they did change the way they calculate graduation rate.
Yeah, and I'm the one always
And I know,
bring
but
that up.
Bernard always asks me that, and that's okay.
Because used to, I thought they let kids fall out, and then once they were out, they counted no more. And I always wanted them to say, we had 100 kids start as a freshman, and I wanted to see 100 kids graduate. And that didn't always happen. But then, you would read, well, we only had a 1% dropout rate. But see, what was happening, once kids are out and they're no longer accounted for, they didn't count them as missing. And I didn't like that. So under the unbridled learning now, they do take that into calculation.
You are correct. You are correct.
And they recalculated the way they did graduation, so we did see that jump, and that did help the high school and help the district.
Yes.
Because the high school counts, obviously, as 1/3 of the district score. The 2 middle schools together is 1/3, the 4 elementary together is 1/3. That's how we get the total score.
So we can't compare ourselves to the rest of the state then? The difference between the graduation rate and the...
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So that's my question. I mean, would you have those statistics there, Mr.?
You want to know what the
average
basically
is?
what that gap is?
Yes, for
between-
statewide.
I don't, but I can get that and share that with the
I think
board.
it'd be interesting to know, to see where we stand compared to the rest of the
Mhm.
state.
Absolutely. I mean, it would. I can bring that to the board.